Listen here. I've seen enough of Wall Street to know the market is a battlefield where fortunes are won and lost, not by chance, but by the iron will of the man who masters its rhythms. You've come seeking wisdom on how to turn those modest gains, the small victories that tease with promise, into the kind of halls that build empires. Pull up a chair and heed my words, for I've danced this dance many times, and the steps are etched in my soul from triumphs that lifted me to the stars and blunders that plunged me into the abyss. It's not about luck or some mystical formula. It's about discipline, the cold eye of observation, and an unyielding grip on your own impulses. Let me lay it out plain and true, as if we're sitting in a quiet corner of a ticker tape room, the clatter of the machines fading into the background. The market ain't your friend, nor your enemy. It's a living thing, pulsing with the greed and fear of a million souls. Back in my early days, scribbling quotes on a chalkboard in those bucket shops, I learned that small wins are the seeds of greatness, but only if planted wisely. I'd start with a pittance, say 100 shares on a hunch. A stock was poised to climb, not a whim, mind you, but after watching the tape like a hawk, noting how prices ebbed and flowed, revealing the big operator's hands. If that first trade went my way, even by a fraction, I'd hold steady, letting it breathe. Patience is the key. Don't snatch at the profit like a starving dog at a bone. Let it grow, confirm the trend, and only then add to your position. Picture this. It was around the turn of the century, and I'd scraped together a few $100s from odd jobs. I walked into one of those bucket shops, shady joints, where you could bet on stock fluctuations without owning a share. The air was thick with cigar smoke and the desperate mutterings of men chasing dreams. I spotted Union Pacific ticking up steadily, the tape showing strength where others saw noise. I put down $50 on margin, buying at what I figured was the start of a swing. It rose a point, then two. My heart pounded, but I didn't cash out. I watched for confirmation, the volume picking up, the bids outpacing the offers. When it hit 3 points profit, I doubled down, adding another lot. By day's end, that small win had ballooned into $1,000, a king's ransom for a man like me. The lesson? I didn't do it by guessing. I did it by pyramiding, building on success only when the market whispered its approval. Pyramiding is the strategy I'm handing you on a silver platter. Start small, risk little at the outset, for the market loves to test your mettle with false starts. If your initial position proves right, add to it cautiously, always with wider stops to protect gains. But never add when you're down. That's the fool's path to ruin. In 1906, amid the rumblings before the San Francisco quake shook the world, the market was jittery, stocks dipping on whispers of trouble. I shorted a few hundred shares of Reading Railroad, sensing the downward pull. It dropped a bit, and instead of covering for a quick nickel, I waited. The tape confirmed the weakness sellers piling in. I added more shorts at lower prices, building my pyramid upside down, as it were. When the panic hit full force, that small short turned into a windfall that set me up for years. It wasn't the size of the initial bet that mattered. It was the discipline to let the market lead. Now, let's talk about the demons in every trader's breast: greed and fear. They're the twin sirens that have wrecked more ships than any storm on Wall Street. Greed whispers sweet nothings, urging you to hold for one more point, to turn a good win into a legendary one. Fear clutches your throat, making you cut and run at the first sign of trouble, leaving profits on the table. I've felt their claws dig deep. In the bull market of the early 1900s, I built a position in U.S. Steel from a modest start. It climbed steadily, my pyramid growing with each confirmation. But greed got the better of me. I ignored the tape's subtle warnings, the hesitations in the advance. I held too long, and when the reversal came, it wiped out half my gains in a flash. I could have walked away with a fortune, but greed blinded me to the truth. No trend lasts forever. Fear's bite is just as vicious. In 1907, during the Great Panic, banks failed left and right, and the market plunged like a stone. I had shorted heavily, turning small probes into massive positions as the decline accelerated. But fear crept in, rumors of J.P. Morgan stepping in to stem the tide. My stomach churned. I covered too soon, missing the final leg down that would have doubled my haul. That mistake cost me dearly, not in dollars alone, but in the lesson it hammered home. Emotions are the enemy. Act on facts, not feelings. Watch the tape, study past price movements, and let the market's behavior dictate your moves. When turning small wins big, always ask, is this confirmation real, or am I wishing it so? Risk management is the backbone of it all. Never risk more than a fraction of your capital on any one trade, 10% at the start. That's my rule. That way a string of losses won't break you. Always have a stop loss in mind, a point where you admit you're wrong and get out, no questions asked. It's painful, like cutting off your own arm, but it's survival. I lost everything more than once because I forgot this. After a big score in cotton futures around 1,915, I had millions to my name. Flush with success, I plunged into stocks without proper safeguards, pyramiding wildly on margin. The market turned, calls came due, and poof, gone in a whirlwind of forced sales. Bankruptcy taught me humility. So, when building on small wins, scale up only with profits, not fresh capital. Let the market fund your expansion. Human psychology in the market. That's the eternal puzzle. The crowd is always wrong at the extremes. When everyone's bullish, drunk on rising prices, sell. When despair reigns and men are jumping from windows, opportunity knocks. I made my biggest kills going against the herd. In 1929, the boom roared, stocks soaring on borrowed money, everyone from bootblacks to bankers speculating like mad. I saw the cracks over valuation, speculative frenzy. Starting small, I shorted a few lots, testing the waters. As the tape showed weakness, I added, building a colossal short position. When the crash came, that pyramid turned small bets into a fortune over 100 million in profits. But I didn't gloat. I knew the market's vengeance. Sure enough, in the aftermath, I gave much back through overconfidence. Let me spin another yarn. In my bucket shop days, I was banned from half the joints in Boston for winning too consistently. I'd start with a tiny trade on a stock like Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe, watching how it reacted to news of railroad expansions. If it held firm against selling pressure, I'd add. One time, a small win on a tip about wheat shipments led to a chain of trades that netted $5,000 in a week. The shop owners got wise, accused me of cheating. Truth was, I read the tape better. The lesson? The market speaks in patterns, repetitions of human behavior. Study booms and busts. From the South Sea bubble to my era's panics. See how fear drives prices too low, greed too high. When turning small wins big, align with these cycles. Don't fight the tape. Let it guide your pyramid. Discipline is the forge where winners are made. It's easy to plan a trade, harder to trade the plan. I've sat for weeks, months even, waiting for the right setup. In 1910, after losing a bundle, I holed up in a hotel, poring over old quotations, rebuilding my edge. When I returned, I started small, turning a few hundred into thousands by patiently pyramiding on confirmed moves in copper stocks. The market rewards the patient, punishes the impulsive. Cut losses quick, let winners run but only under strict rules. Never average down, that's throwing good money after bad. Keep a cash reserve for the unexpected. The emotional grip of it all, I've known the ecstasy of a big win, the despair of total loss. After the 1929 coup, I was the toast of Wall Street, but loneliness set in. Money can't buy peace when you've danced with ruin. I remarried, sought distractions, but the market called me back. In the Depression years, I built from scraps. Small wins in undervalued stocks, pyramided carefully, brought me back to solvency. But greed reared up. I overextended in a bear raid that backfired. Bankruptcy again, this time with the weight of years on my shoulders. It nearly broke me, body and spirit. The strategy works, but only if you master yourself. Greed tempts you to over-leverage, fear to hesitate. Fight them with knowledge, with rules carved in stone. Let me share one more tale from 1916 when I played the cotton market. Prices were climbing on news of short crops. I started with a small, long position, watching the tape for strength. Each uptick confirmed the trend, so I added, building a pyramid that turned a few thousand into a million by season's end. But it wasn't the size of the win that mattered, it was the method. I waited for clear signals, scaled up with profits, and kept stops tight. Every step was calculated, every emotion checked. That's what separates the victors from the vanquished. Another time, in 1908, I misread the tape on a steel stock, thinking the recovery was at hand. I went long, small at first, but the market turned against me. Instead of cutting losses, I doubled down, hoping to prove myself right. The losses mounted, and I was wiped out. That taught me, never fight the market's verdict. Small wins only grow big if you respect the tape's truth. The market is a teacher, harsh but fair. It rewards those who study its ways and punishes those who defy them. Start with modest bets, confirm the trend with the tape's evidence, and pyramid only when the market agrees. Manage risk with iron discipline, never risk more than you can lose, and always know your exit. Understand the crowd's psychology, but don't join it. Act against the extremes, where fear or greed blinds others. Above all, be patient. The market owes you nothing. It yields only to those who respect its power. I've won and lost more than most dream, and if I could do it over, I'd cling tighter to these truths. The tape is your guide, your only true ally. Read it well, act with precision, and those small wins can grow beyond your wildest hopes. But falter, let greed or fear take the reins, and the market will humble you, as it has so many before. Go forth, apply these lessons, and may fortune favor your bold bee.